I would say, why didn't you tell Luke about the army of Star Destroyers on Exegol and all the Palpatine clones? Because there's a comic where he sees the entire army. So he knows about it, but he doesn't tell Luke about it. That's who I'd talk to in a cantina.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cast of the Whills. I'm your host, Amelia, and with me is my amazing co-host, Will. So we're doing a little quick episode run by me today, where I'm going to ask the big Star Wars fan in the room, more so than me, a few little fun questions and see what your answers are off the cuff without anything pre-prepared.
Right, it's going to be stressful, okay.
So,
yeah.
They're all just opinion-based.
Yeah, a lot of backtracking and a lot of, no, can I actually undo that answer? And 3 questions ago you asked this, can I undo it, please?
Yeah, well, I think that's half the fun.
Okay,
so,
all right.
I think we should just get stuck into it then.
Oh, right, let's get into it.
So,
the interrogation scene.
My first question for you is, if you could erase one Star Wars movie or series and remake it yourself, which would it be and why?
Oh, jeez, okay. I thought this was going to be like softballs, like who's
Some
your
of them
favorite
are.
character? Wow. Okay, there's going to be a lot of answers here. I'm not giving you one answer. However, I'll give you my answers and then
And then you pick one. Yeah, okay.
Wow, okay. I was going to make sure the channel wasn't too controversial early on and then we get into it, but let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Well, this is about you're erasing it from history so no one's ever watched it and you're remaking it yourself.
Yeah, but that implies that I didn't like it if I'm...
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, okay, let me start off with one people might not expect because I personally I like this movie, but I would erase Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And I would make Attack of the Clones Phantom Menace with some flashbacks to the events of or what we know of episode 1. So it might be some flashbacks of how Anakin and Obi-Wan met. You might change it, but you might have Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. So you have Attack of the Clones be the first movie. The second movie is the Clone Wars. Because the Clone Wars were this really important event. Obi-Wan mentions in episode 4, we hear it early on, your father and I served in the Clone Wars. And then Luke's like, the Clone Wars? And we never actually see it properly. We see the beginning and the end of the Clone Wars. We never get to live in the Clone Wars. We never get to see the impact of war on our heroes, on the Jedi as a religion, as a system, on the Republic, on all these characters. And how does war change people? Because we definitely know Anakin is different between episodes 2 and 3. But we never get to experience that. And yes, the Clone Wars TV series has filled that gap for us. But if we go back and we redo it to make it a really important moment where maybe it cuts across a few years and we see how does Anakin get chipped away a bit and he sees the worst sides of the galaxy and war affects him. It affects Obi-Wan. It affects the Jedi Council. It's affecting all these characters. It's corrupting the Senate. I think that would be a bit of that's my interesting one is, so you get rid of Phantom Menace and you have a few flashbacks and we have Attack of the Clones, keep it as it is. Because I can only raise one. Not that I don't Attack of the Clones. But you make that second movie in the prequel trilogy a Clone Wars movie. And that doesn't mean nostalgia baiting, going, I want to see them in live action Clone. No, at the time, I think it would do a lot to show us why does Anakin go to the dark side. You can maybe develop the romance a lot between him and Padme. You can really get those nuances about why Anakin doesn't go like that. It's a gradual change. And I think in making the Clone Wars, you'd probably make some changes to Revenge of the Sith a bit, just inherently. I think you can keep Revenge of the Sith the same, but Anakin's turn won't be as starking or contrasting and feel like a bit more of a flow. So that's I'd say, left field one is get rid of Phantom Menace and you make Attack of the Clones. First one, you do a Clone Wars movie.
Can I ask quickly though before you continue,
Please, yeah.
What happens to the Clone Wars as a series then?
You can still have it to fill in some gaps.
Okay.
Look, keep the Clone Wars as it is because it's still a lot of fun and does a lot of filling in. But I think for general audiences and because obviously the second movie would come out 5 years before the Clone Wars TV show, you have that foundation of what does the Clone Wars look like in live action, and then we can tell some more stories to fill in even more gaps. So I think obviously still keep the Clone Wars. I'm not going to raise the Clone Wars, but I think it would do a lot for general audiences and fans to see what the Clone Wars looked like. Where you could just have it, look, you probably wouldn't have it be one battle from the Clone Wars as a movie. You maybe have a few different battles or that it takes place for a few years because that would be an interesting Star Wars movie, is a movie that doesn't take place in a week. And you could see a lot of developments throughout the Clone Wars, but I'd say keep the show the same. The other ones I would change. Okay, I'm not going to touch the original trilogy, right? I feel like that's a bit sacrilegious to even dare to think
I think a
about.
lot of people would be angry at that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Look, actually, remake Return of the Jedi. With the way I'd remake it, you get rid of Darth Vader yelling out no, keep the rest of the movie the same. That's my remake. Actually, that's my one. Can I make that the answer? Remove Return of the Jedi, make it the same movie without Darth Vader screaming. No, I obviously keep that movie.
You have answered the question.
I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off. I didn't mind Last Jedi, but it's hard because I am not a writer, so I can't say I know how to do these things. I don't know the industry. I don't know all the restraints people have. But obviously, Rise of Skywalker is one I'd change. I did. Apparently, the original movie, it was called Duel of Fates. I think there's some interesting ideas in the script. I think people wouldn't like it because people don't like any new things, really. So I think it still would have copped some flack. But I think there's some really good ideas there. It was mainly really focused on Kylo Ren and Rey and their dynamic, and having Luke be a player as a Force ghost, and having Coruscant be the final battle, and not having Palpatine at all. But I think a big thing, which was the original intention of the sequels, you were going to have... At the end of episode 8, Kylo turn to the light side and Rey go to the dark side. So our protagonist and antagonist switch places.
That would be interesting as an audience member.
I think
to watch that.
It's something new, it's something fresh. It'd be interesting to see how the Resistance treats Kylo if he turned good. Because obviously he'd be really powerful and he could help them, but he destroyed 7 planets.
And has he still killed Han Solo in this? He's still killed Han Solo,
so it'd be interesting. So I think maybe that's a change you could make for episode 8 if I were to remake it, is maybe change the Canto Bite bits. I didn't mind Luke putting it out there. I know it doesn't work. Maybe if we ever do a Last Jedi review, I can get into that more, but please don't flame me right now for it. Let me defend myself. But maybe I'll change that movie to have the 2 lead characters switch places at the end, and then the setup for 9 is Rey leading the First Order? Is she just on the fringes? Is Ben Solo a leader in the Resistance, or is he an outcast in the Resistance? And how do those 2 characters deal with that? And once again, I love the theme of redemption, and it would be interesting to look at that for Ben Solo and for Rey, because you'd assume because it's like a superhero movie, effectively, they're going to make Rey turn to the light side by the end. But just thinking, how do they explore that? I think that would have been a very interesting perspective. I wouldn't otherwise... Honestly, I didn't mind Solo. I quite like Solo. If the only way I'd change it is... Well, they'd set up a sequel anyway, so I couldn't really change that movie. I quite enjoyed it. I couldn't complain too much, considering they were doing a big task of giving Han a background and a prequel series. I think they did a pretty good job. I wouldn't change Rogue One. I think it does a really good job of adding a bit more depth to Star Wars. It was better that darker side of the rebellion, which Andor definitely really blew that up a lot. But I think how blowing up things are. Rogue One are. But I think Rogue One, I think is a really great movie. I don't think there's much I'd touch there. People that said Obi-Wan should have appeared in it. Maybe some more Vader scenes, but that's not. I wouldn't. That doesn't answer the question of remaking. I think the most appropriate answer would be remaking Episode 2 into the Clone Wars and getting rid of Episode 1. I think that would be my actual answer.
Yeah, so reshuffling the order.
Reshuffling the order and expanding the middle bit. Otherwise, the sequels, my brain can't... Because you've asked me the question without any preparation, I can't prepare a good answer for that. I probably would change Episode 9 or parts of 8, but I can't give you a fully mapped out answer that I can give you.
What your storyline looks like.
Maybe that could be a fun episode, sequel treatment.
What if?
A what if series. So... I think my actual answer, if I was given time, would be one of the sequels. I think 7 did a good episode setting things up. I really wouldn't change 7. It had a big task of bringing Star Wars back, homaging the originals, setting up the modern era of Star Wars, both TVs and movies and all that. So I think 7 had a lot of weight. I wouldn't change it. But it probably would be 9 as the one I would remove and remake. Maybe we can talk about that another time. But in terms of one I can really give you now is, getting rid of 1. And which feels a bit controversial because I feel like people have come around to that movie, and Darth Maul's great.
I'm partial to that one, but I see what you're saying.
It is a fun one. Darth Maul's great, Qui-Gon's great, so I think I would be sad if we'd miss those characters because you probably couldn't put them in a Clone Wars movie or an Attack of the Clones unless I think you'd have to have Count Dooku be the villain of all 3. So I think that would be the biggest loss, is those 2 characters. You don't get their presence anymore. But I think that's a fun answer. Okay, so yeah.
All right.
God, what's the second question going to be?
Our next one is, which character do you think has the most underrated arc?
Whoa.
Emphasis on underrated.
Underrated.
So someone like Darth Vader is probably not the best answer.
Darth Vader, I have to say. He gets wow. Underrated. I feel, and you might have to help me here if this is an arc. Does Obi-Wan go through an arc from 1 to 4, 5, 6, kind of?
From what I recall of the Obi-Wan series,
Yes, the
there's
series
definitely a
definitely.
change.
Yeah. In
And
the character, but
by 5 and 6, you're referring to like the
old Ben character.
Force Ghost though, because
Yeah, the Force Ghost
Yeah.
version. Like, he's different from the prequels, and like, he's that Wise Jedi
Yeah.
mentor. But then that's more of a progression, I feel like, of the character. It doesn't feel like an arc. It feels like, oh, Obi-Wan was always meant to become the old mentor. So I'm going to do it. Let's go back to the first question quickly. I am going to ignore the question of movies. TV shows will change Obi-Wan around a bit. So I'm going to completely derail the second question. The Obi-Wan series, I think I haven't rewatched it since it came out.
yeah.
And I think maybe I am still stuck on the potential versus what we got. I think maybe I need to watch it knowing what we'll get and see if whether I like it more or less. Because in my head, I was like, Clone Wars galore. Just can we just like nostalgia bait the entire series? No plot, just Clone Wars. No, but it was good. Look, having Ewan and Hayden back, couldn't complain about that at all. But I think the series could have been shuffled around. But I think Reva was a really interesting idea, having the youngling as an Inquisitor who's there to kill Anakin. But I think
Obi-Wan?
no, she wanted to kill Darth Vader.
Did she?
Because she knew Anakin attacked the Jedi Temple and she connected the dots that Anakin was Darth Vader.
Oh,
she
yes,
didn't want to
I remember that
She
now.
wanted to use Obi-Wan as bait.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So, but I think her character should have just been the Grand Inquisitor and you make it Obi-Wan and Vader. Because it became a bit too much of the Inquisitor show, which is that'd be a fun show, but don't call it Obi-Wan. So I'd rather had an Inquisitor show. And I think if you had the Inquisitor be the Grand Inquisitor be the side villain and Vader and Obi-Wan the main characters, I think that would have been a lot more powerful story to tell, especially having Vader throughout it. And maybe a few more interactions with Vader and Kenobi, and I think someone did a great comic art of Obi-Wan like having flashbacks and dreams about Anakin blaming him and all that. But and any other shows were... Maybe another time we can delve into the shows a bit more so we won't eat up too much time for this one. But yeah, I think Obi-Wan... Because Obi-Wan was meant to be a trilogy. So that's why that's my asterisk to how I answer the question is it was meant to be a movie, so I am going to count it as a movie. Yeah. So it was meant to be a trilogy, and I think they condensed the trilogy into a series and still cut a few pieces out. So anyway, moving back to the second question, underrated arc. That is a fantastic question. Obi-Wan comes to mind because I feel like I don't think about his arc much, about he's thrust into being a mentor in episode 1 at the end. And because we don't see the Clone Wars, we don't really see him develop over that time, but he does become a bit more charismatic and charming. And then obviously by the end of 3, he's very traumatized, very changed. And broken. Yeah, broken's a great word. And we see that in Obi-Wan. He starts off as who he left off in episode 3. And it's how do we get to the Alec Guinness character in episode 4. And I think they did that transformation pretty adequately of him, dare I say, a Return of the Jedi. So him coming back in that more optimistic way that we know him. And maybe we need a season 2 to maybe bridge that gap even better between Ewan McGregor and Alec Guinness. And then we see him... It's hard because obviously they didn't know they were going to do a prequel series when they made episode 4. So the Obi-Wan of episode 4 feels very different to the ones we get.
Yeah.
So maybe that is the arc. Otherwise, characters... I think... I wish they really highlighted Finn's arc because his whole arc originally was he's running from the First Order. And what I like in Last Jedi is he decides to confront the First Order and sacrifice himself on Crate, and then Rose saves him. But I thought if Finn had died in that moment, it would have been a great shock to kill off one of the main 3 in the second movie. But also that is Finn's arc, as he spends the first movie trying to convince Rey we need to run from the First Order. And at the beginning of 8, he's still trying to escape the Resistance and run from the First Order. And then at the end of the movie, he realizes he needs to confront the First Order, and then he takes down their super weapon or whatever it is. And I thought that would have been a really powerful arc, like a 2-movie arc, and you do a bold statement about this new trilogy. And if they committed to that, I think that would have been an incredible arc. And I think the one we got, in 9, he doesn't get as much to do. He's a bit sidelined. But I think that arc was really impressive in 7 and 8. Even though he didn't die, the fact that he effectively got still to do the sacrifice, I think was very impressive. So I think maybe Finn would be it, because I don't hear many people talk about Finn's arc. Otherwise, I can't think of many characters... Like their arc comes to mind. That's probably why it's underrated because I don't think of it. So yeah, definitely Finn's is a really powerful one that I think maybe if they change a few things, that maybe would have stuck with me a bit more. Also, maybe it's underrated because it's not as well exposed. Cal Kestis from the video games, he has a really great arc, especially the first game. you haven't played the game, so I won't give too much away, but it's very similar to Obi-Wan's. He's a very similar Obi-Wan arc. And I think obviously that's always just like a great one to see someone coming back into who they really are after having experienced trauma. And the second game, maybe I have to revisit the story, but it doesn't feel like there's an arc. It's more of a continuation of the character, which isn't a bad thing. He doesn't have as much of an arc. I feel like those are the main ones I think of. I think definitely Finn's the one, though. I'll say that. Finn's the underrated one. I don't hear many people talk about him, but he got a really powerful one of, he was running in the movies, he's running the whole time, and then he decides to confront them and make the ultimate sacrifice. So, yeah.
I do really like the premise behind his character, just full stop.
Yeah, the traitor, stormtrooper turned good. Is he a good guy? He was indoctrinated since birth, so is he really a bad guy? And I think, there's a lot to explore about that character, about having a bad guy. I mean, obviously Star Wars about bad guy just turning good, but really having that room to breathe in 3 movies and explore that character.
And to break out from what I'm sure you could say is a cult type society that would be the Stormtroopers.
The First Order would have been a cult,
First Order, but if one is able to break away, are others able to break away?
That's what they want to do in 9, because in 9 we see on Kef Bir there's the other defective stormtroopers that leave. So I think they wanted to really explore that more. In the original plans for episode 9, Finn was going to lead a stormtrooper rebellion. So he would have gotten on the TVs and Coruscant on the holonet, and he would have, done this whole speech about you don't have to fight for the First Order, you can choose the light side, and then you'd have half. That's why originally I think the Sith Empire troopers were red and the stormtroopers were white. So when they shoot at each other, you can tell which is which, right? So I thought that was, and then you'd have the stormtroopers fighting alongside the Resistance, which would have been a great conclusion to the saga about the bad guys who are more on like the cannon fodder tier, being like, no, we don't have to do this just because we're being told. So, that would have been another universe, a different movie that I remake and redo. And,
That's a good answer.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right. If you lived in the Star Wars universe, where would you live and what would your job be?
My gut instinct says economist on Naboo.
Oh, Naboo, okay.
I feel like Naboo seems so peaceful. It seems like it has a stable economy. But it doesn't experience... Well, Luthen did blow up a bridge in Andor, so let's not forget that.
And they're a monarchy, if I'm correct?
Or
are they both?
Yeah, they're a bit of both. But I think it's an elected monarchy. Like the Queen's elected every 3 years or something. So it's but Palpatine did come from there, so... But Naboo just seems so serene. It seems so peaceful. Kamino, it's always raining.
I'm not even familiar with... I know the planet, but I
it's
can't
always raining. There's
picture
like waves. And then Tatooine, you don't want to be on Tatooine. Coruscant, I feel like it's too busy. There's going to be a lot of crime there. There'll be a lot of like wealth imbalances and all that. Whereas I feel like Naboo, it'd just be like living in Europe. I just want to live in Europe, is what I'm trying to say. And I think Naboo would be quite fun. If I want to give
in Lake Como, perhaps.
Yeah, Lake Como even. And I think I would have that like nice economist job in the commerce district. I don't.
But would you be an economist in the Star Wars universe, or does it have a fancy name?
Space economist.
Okay.
Yep. As anything Star Wars, add space to it. But I don't know what job I'd have. I was thinking there's. I think it might be. I think it's Agent Kloss. Arkiva, that's one. Arkiva's kind of like a jungle planet, but there's still some settlements and civilization. So that could be fun. But I think Naboo's very peaceful. I think when we saw Anakin and Padme there, and in episode 1, where the way we see it, I think it's a nice, serene place to be. I reckon Naboo's a good one. And the job would be, probably in the commercial district. Not probably Cyril's job in the Empire, where he just sits in a booth and he presses buttons all day. Hopefully something more exciting. How exciting is that? I'm like, who could I be? Anyone in Star Wars? I want to be an economist. Maybe that's how much I love it.
Maybe.
Love my commerce side.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't think I have that dog in me to be a Jedi. Like, you're just facing danger.
And is a Jedi a job, or is it more of a calling?
Damn, you're right. That is very prolific of you to say. I don't think I'd be doing that. I wouldn't want to be a senator. I wouldn't want to be a spice runner. God, stressful. Owing Jabba the Hutt 40,000 credits and he sends Boba Fett after you.
You're not a bounty hunter either?
No. Bounty hunters too unpredictable, too dangerous. I don't think I have that like Mandalorians be like, I think that'd be me. But then you take care of Grogu.
But Luke does that as well.
Maybe I'll just be Luke Skywalker. Is that a job I can have? Rebuild the Jedi Order and then have it burnt down for no reason. A bit more hate to Last Jedi there. Sorry. Yeah, maybe I would want just like a job where I can enjoy my time on Naboo.
Okay.
So I would invest my money wisely so I can retire.
You'd work
early.
to live on Naboo.
Yeah, I work to live on Naboo, and I retire very early on Naboo because I take advantage of the fall of a galactic government. So the stock market goes down. That's when you buy. So then
Very
this
ethical.
is me giving financial advice if you lived in the Star Wars universe. Buy when the Republic and the Empire fall, and then you sell when the New Republic's at their height of power. Yeah, that's my Star Wars financial advice.
Which is not financial
Not
advice.
financial
obviously.
advice.
But
If you live in the Star Wars universe, that's financial advice. Yeah. But for real life, don't use Star Wars financial advice at all. Don't listen to me.
all right. Which species in the Star Wars universe do you believe deserves more screen time?
Trandoshans. They are,
What are they?
Bosk's characters. So they're kind of like lizard-like creatures.
Oh, yeah.
And so we see Bosk in episode 5. That was it. We have a few more Trandoshans in Clone Wars and Bad Batch. Trandoshan representation. And actually we see a few in Mandalorian really went back to let's bring back the original trilogy aliens and give them a bit more. So we see a lot more weak ways. He was the bartender in Mos Espa, I think.
Oh, yeah.
In The Mandalorian where Cobb Vanth is. And we see maybe Sullistan's are also fun, like Nine Nub's character. That would be another one fun to get more of them. Because all we get of Nine Nub, he just like chuckles. That's all he does. He doesn't have any speaking lines. He just kind of laughs a bit. But no, I want to see, because Trandoshans are very intimidating because they like hunt Wookiees for sport. So I think they're a lot more intimidating. So hopefully see them in more like a Boba Fett Mandalorian bounty hunter kind of show. Because Bosk, from what I can understand from like comics and books and video games, he's meant to be a very intimidating bounty hunter because he's very much like stalking prey. He's very like animalistic. And I think it'd be really cool to see more of them because we saw some in Mandalorian, but I think they're like butchers or something. Actually, I'm so glad we got Ugnaught representation in Mandalorian with Queel. Yeah, sorry, we won't get too much into it because I know Amelia feels a certain way about Queel.
Sad.
Very sad way. But that was another great example of, a fun little species in Empire Strikes Back, and they make that into an entire character that you feel really attached to.
Yeah.
But Trandoshans are definitely one. We've got a lot of Weequay representation. Maybe for my good friend Trinity, some more Harch representation. She loves her Harchers, so let's get some more Harchers. We had Admiral Trench, but let's get a bit more live action. Otherwise, I feel like Twi'leks maybe get a bit too much. I think because they're humanoid, they get a lot of representation.
They're easy to depict.
Yeah, because you just have a human with like, I think they're called Leku. So I think Trandoshans, I'd like to see more in... I want to see maybe Bosk is what I'm looking for, but some more really intimidating Trandoshans who maybe threaten our main characters and are very like hunting their prey. Yeah.
Nice. All right, and perhaps the last one for this little Q&A episode.
Yeah.
Which character would you most want to share a drink with in the cantina?
Luke Skywalker. Why is that even a question? No. All right, let's run through a few.
And I'll say, like, if you want it to be with, let's say, Boba Fett or something, he's not just going to take you as a bounty straight away. Like, you can actually...
Socialize.
Yeah.
I would want to, like, pick Palpatine's brains.
Okay.
Be like... Oh, actually, no. Anakin. You know what I want to talk to Anakin? Because when he turns into a Force Ghost, I would say, why didn't you tell Luke about the army of Star Destroyers on Exegol and all the Palpatine clones? Because there's a comic where he sees the entire army. So he knows about it. But he doesn't tell Luke about it. That's who I'd talk to in a cantina. No, I wouldn't take my frustrations out on Anakin. I'd be like, look, you saved the galaxy. But I'd be like, come on, dog. You know Palpatine's going to come back. You know he's got clones. You know there's a fleet of Star Destroyers. Tell Luke he's at the height of his power. But Han would kind of annoy me, I'll be honest. I don't think he'd be fun to share a drink with. I think he'd be all standoffish and just be a bit of a nuisance.
Probably not a particularly agreable person.
Yeah, not agreeable. He'd be arguing and he'd be like, well, I beat you in Sabak, but he like hit a card up his sleeve and it's like, well, now I got to give you my house. Lando would have some cool stories, but he would definitely be spinning them a bit. I want some Luke wisdom. I think I need that in my life. A bit of that, the Return of the Jedi Luke vibe.
Which Luke? So after episode 6?
God. Yeah, after episode 6.
Right.
Yeah, I'll narrow it to that one. Post 6 Luke.
Right.
Book of Boba Fett Luke.
Yeah.
Can I not be in a cantina? Can he just train me? Like he does
Your
with Grogu?
baby Yoda.
Yeah, I am Grogu and he trains me. Can we have that happen?
Yep.
Obi-Wan, I don't think... Like, okay, Obi-Wan, obviously, if I had the chance, I would, but top of the list. Obi-Wan, I feel like I know enough about him.
Okay.
Maybe I'd be like to him, it's not your fault. That's what I'd say to him. I'd really like, dude, this drink's on me. It is not your fault. Don't worry about it. Anakin, I'd be like, come on, what are we doing? Dude, It doesn't. All right, any version of Anakin.
Any
I'd
version,
be like,
yeah.
what are we doing? When he's in episode 2, what are we doing? Episode 3, what are we doing? Obi-Wan says, what are we doing? When he's a Force Ghost, what are we doing? Any version of Anakin, he's like, dude, lock in. Mandalorian, I probably wouldn't. I don't feel like it's look, maybe if you brought Grogu.
He seems like the silent type.
Yeah, like I feel like I already know enough about him. Boba Fett, Tamara Morrison's pretty cool. I just want to share a drink with Tamara Morrison, if that counts. Other characters.
If you were to pick Grogu, can he talk?
No, it's Karen Grogu.
It's
So he's just
Grogu,
kind of sitting there, just cooing and being like a little baby. I was going to say Ben Solo, but I think once again, it's just I don't want to meet Adam Driver. I think I think he'll just crash out at me about something, just because that's what he does. Otherwise, I think Return of the Jedi Luke and Force Ghost Anakin just to like rip his ear off and be like, dude, you could prevent Palpatine coming back right now. Otherwise, yeah, who would you? Sorry, not to flip the script. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this as a guest. Who would you share a drink with?
I'm keen on our friend Grogu, but
yeah, but come on,
I probably shouldn't share a drink with him.
Yes, firstly that you already know enough about him. You're not going to learn anything new.
I'm tempted to say one of the more minor characters from The Mandalorian.
Ooh.
Like, I'll be honest, I'm not good with their official names, but the character who is like a cowboy who runs, I think you said his name earlier?
Cobb Vanth.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that wears the Boba Fett armor initially.
Yes,
him.
him.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be cool to
talk to him about.
Just like what his life is like.
Yeah, fair. Dealing with the spice runners, dealing
Yeah.
with the Pike Syndicate.
Exactly.
And cartels coming through his town. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fighting off Cad Bane. Yeah, that'd be okay. Cobb Vanth would have some cool stories. Maybe Boba Fett would have good like bounty hunting tales.
Or even the mechanic from The Mandalorian.
Oh, Molly
With the curly hair?
Polto? Yeah. She's fun. She would have some good stories, I reckon. Yeah. But I think I just want to hear a lot from Luke.
That's
like,
true.
Dude, give me your wisdom. Anakin's more like so I can tell him off.
But yeah, I feel like you kind of mentioned, the main characters in the series, we get a fair bit about them.
Yeah.
But these kind of fun characters who are just in and out every now and then.
That's a good question. Who's a fun side
Like, I'm not
maybe?
particularly invested in, was it Cobb Vanth?
Yeah.
But I feel like he'd have
He'd
a lot to say. Yeah.
Cobb Vanth is a good one. I was going to say one of the Mortis gods, because you'd get some insane lore from one of them.
Was that from the Clone Wars arc?
Yeah, the Clone Wars arc, and they might appear in Ahsoka season 2.
Ah, okay.
But like, you're not going to share a drink with them. They will like expand your mind. Yeah. You wouldn't be in the cantina for long. You'd be like on this other place of the universe. Otherwise, Balin Skull.
Yes, yeah.
You feel like because we don't know enough about him yet. I'd be like,
No,
dude,
yeah.
tell me
How did you
everything.
get to where you are?
Yeah, and why are you so wise and why are you so nonchalant
Yeah.
about everything? Otherwise, yeah, you're right. It is maybe the Death Six guy.
Yeah.
Maybe he'd be like, so how's
He'd
your
have
life
a lot
gone
to
since
say.
then? How have you improved since Obi-Wan said you want to go home and rethink your life? How have you reformed since then? I want to hear.
What's your
I'm happy for
rehabilitation
you.
been like?
I'm really happy for you. And how are you earning money now?
Yeah.
But I think that would be. I think Cobb Vanth is a really good one. That's a nice like left field one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that one.
I can tell my favourite series is The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
Or even, again, I'm going to forget his name, but the parent figure in Skeleton Crew, played by... Yes, Jod.
Yeah. But I think we saw his backstory more than anything.
We did, but I still think
He'd be fun.
a lot to unpack.
He would, because
there.
he was a Jedi, then a bounty hunter, and a pirate. So he's probably got a lot of different stuff. True. I reckon I think it's Jod Narwood.
Okay.
Maybe.
I wouldn't know.
He'd be a good one, yeah.
So, yeah, I think we'll
those are the
wrap it up with
today.
those ones for today.
This was a lot of fun. I want to do it again.
This one was fun. I think we might have to do a few more little rapid fire Q&As.
2-hour Q&A sessions. Maybe we can do it like back and forth as well. Maybe that'd be a fun
that's a
one.
good idea.
So yeah.
And if anyone listening has any questions that are of this nature that they'd like to have either of us ask, please leave them in one of the
we
comments.
would either maybe reply to your comment, or maybe you can bank them
save
for
them
a
up.
future episode.
Yeah.
Do an audience Q&A episode. That'd be really fun. Yeah.
So thanks everyone for listening to this Q&A episode. New episodes come out weekly, and you're able to find us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And we're having some special content on Instagram and TikTok at the moment, particularly related to Star Wars Unlimited, if you're interested in that. So if you subscribe or follow us, you'll become a guardian of the Whills.
Ooh.
And we can't wait to see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye. May the podcast be with you.
And may the podcast be with you.
Bye.
Bye.